The story begins in London, where tower blocks were built after World War II as affordable housing. Over time, however, they deteriorated and became havens for criminals. Redevelopers started buying them to tear them down, but many still remain because it's not easy to evict the tenants. One such building, known as Serenity House, is set for demolition as soon as the last residents on the top floor are forced out. One night, a teenager named Nick is desperately running from two thugs. He rushes into Serenity House, but with the elevator broken, he has no choice but to race up the stairs. He bangs on doors, begging for help, but the residents ignore him and quickly lock their doors. The thugs catch him, pin him down, and begin beating him mercilessly. Becky, one of the tenants, witnesses everything through her peephole. She calls the police, but they keep her on hold. Desperate to help, she steps outside to intervene, only to be overpowered and beaten as well. Once she's down, the thugs drag Nick away as he cries for help. The next day, Nick's body is found, and the police arrive to investigate. Becky tells them she saw nothing and claims her injuries were from a mugging. But Detective Devlin knows the paramedics found her in the hallway and suspects she's hiding the truth. Still, she insists she didn't see the attackers' faces. Devlin grows frustrated that no one in the building will cooperate and offers protection for anyone willing to testify, but Becky simply shuts the door on him. 3 months later, a local thug named Curtis goes door to door collecting protection money. Becky insults him when she hears the rates will soon increase. Neville, another resident, refuses to be intimidated and only pays to keep his wife Vivian safe. Meanwhile, drug dealers Gary and Mark offer Curtis their help, but he brushes them off and takes one of their cigarettes instead. Inside his flat, Paul struggles with alcoholism but gives in and starts drinking again. That night, Becky goes out and runs into Jenny, a neighbor who leaves her kids alone so she can party. When Jenny notices Becky's judgmental look, she angrily lashes out. The next morning, the building's internet goes down and residents lose phone service. Becky wakes up after a one-night stand with a coworker. As they sit down for breakfast, he's suddenly shot in the head by a sniper. Becky screams in terror as his body drops to the floor. Across the street, the sniper lines up his next target. In another apartment, Carol and her son Daniel watch in shock as her husband is gunned down too. The sniper continues firing into every top-floor apartment, killing some residents and wounding others, while a few barely manage to hide in time. Panic spreads, and the survivors gather in the hallway, realizing none of their phones work. Carol suggests they leave, but with the elevator broken and the streets exposed, Daniel argues they'd be easier targets outside. Soon, Gary arrives with a badly injured Mark, begging for help, but Carol coldly reminds him that they never defended her family from Curtis, so they don't deserve it. Violet, who knows some first aid, asks for alcohol and sheets to treat Mark's wound. Then Jenny comes out sobbing, revealing her children have been killed. Another injured woman collapses nearby, but before Violet can treat her, she dies. Her husband Jeff screams for help, so Becky and Paul crawl across the floor to reach him. They guide him out, only for Jeff to break down in grief when he sees his wife's lifeless body. Afterward, Becky and Paul notice Curtis hasn't appeared, so they check his apartment. He refuses to answer, forcing Becky to kick the door open. Shaken, Curtis finally joins the group in the hallway. They begin discussing who could be behind the attack. Some suspect the building developer, but others argue it's unlikely since the police would trace it back to him. It's clearly not a random killer either, since the weapon is high-grade military equipment with a laser sight. They also notice homemade posters with emoticons on the walls and realize the internet blackout was intentional. This sniper is organized and calculating. Becky checks the fire escape, but finds it too exposed. Neville suggests they wait it out until the police intervene, but Mark's injuries are severe and he needs a doctor. Becky insists their only chance is to find a way downstairs and escape through the back door. The group works together to open the elevator doors. Daniel brings his father's tools, and Jeff manages to pry the doors open, only to be shot dead instantly, a trap set by the sniper. Everyone runs for cover, and Becky uses a mirror to confirm the setup. Curtis carefully removes the sniper's bait gun, and together with Becky, they move Jeff's body to his apartment beside his wife's. After regrouping, Becky, Paul, and Curtis climb down the elevator shaft, finally reaching the ground floor. They open the doors and find more posters plastered on the walls. They try the back door, but it won't budge. Curtis uses the tools to dismantle it, only for them to discover a massive shipping container blocking the exit. It's far too heavy to move, leaving them with no choice but to climb back to the top floor. Meanwhile, Mark is still in serious pain and keeps taking medicine, ignoring Gary's warnings. The group discusses escape ideas. Becky suggests climbing down from the roof using sheets, but Violet argues they wouldn't be long enough and recommends tying fire hoses instead. An argument breaks out over who should attempt it, since it's extremely dangerous. During this, Jenny studies the paper with emoticons and realizes they represent the three wise monkeys: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. She connects this to Nick's death, concluding they're being punished for not helping him or the police. Accepting her fate, Jenny decides she wants to reunite with her kids. She walks into her apartment and is immediately shot dead. Everyone is devastated, but Curtis calls them hypocrites, pointing out how they judged Jenny for her noisy children earlier. When night falls, Carol suggests turning off all the lights and sneaking out, but the others remind her the sniper probably has night vision. Curtis then notices the emoticons painted on Mark and Gary's door. Confronting them, he locks them inside and begins shouting, accusing them of killing Nick. Mark insists they're innocent, but when Curtis squeezes his wound, he finally confesses. Mark and Gary were the thugs who beat Nick because he owed them money, but they claim his death was an accident. The others overhear this from the hallway and start debating whether they should hand the duo over to the sniper. Curtis agrees they should take responsibility, but when they refuse, he brutally beats them. He drags Gary to the window, pulls the curtain aside, and Gary is instantly shot dead. When Mark tries to crawl away, Curtis grabs him, shoves him against the glass, and Mark is killed as well. After pouring himself a drink and dropping the sniper's posters on their bodies, Curtis calmly rejoins the group, defending his actions when Becky confronts him. Carol believes the nightmare is over and tries to leave with her son Daniel. The others beg her not to, insisting they can't be sure the sniper is finished. Becky pleads for her to think rationally, but Carol lashes out, saying Becky can't understand her pain because she only lost a partner, not a child. Becky slaps her in anger. They manage to convince Carol to leave Daniel behind, but she ignores them. Testing the danger, she sticks her arm out first. When no shots are fired, she slowly walks down the stairs and Daniel follows. They make it to the back door, and Daniel uses the intercom to assure the others they're safe. But as soon as Carol steps outside, she's killed. Daniel panics, using a metal sheet as a shield, but the sniper shoots his hand, forcing him to drop it, then kills him too. Shaken, Becky insists on trying her roof plan. Paul steps forward, saying she should stay because she's the smartest of them all, and volunteers to do it instead since he has no one in his life. Touched, Becky hugs him in thanks. The group ties the hoses together, but Paul struggles with tremors. He hasn't had alcohol in 24 hours. Curtis brings him whiskey to steady his hands. They break open the roof door, but the moment Violet opens it, she's shot dead. Neville breaks down, holding her body in tears. The survivors sneak onto the roof, tie the hose, and Paul begins climbing down. At first, it works, but soon the sniper starts shooting the hose. Curtis rushes out to distract him, but it isn't enough. The hose snaps, and Paul plummets to his death. Becky collapses in grief, and Curtis restrains her to keep her from exposing herself. The three survivors return inside. Furious and desperate, Becky decides they'll burn the building to signal for help. Knowing they might not live through it, they share a final meal with wine. The next morning, Becky and Neville climb down the elevator shaft while Curtis spreads oil through the apartments. Once they reach safety, Curtis rigs the building. He puts metal in the microwave, turns on the stove, lights newspaper, and throws it into the oil. Explosions rip through the building, fire spreading fast. As Curtis tries to escape down a ladder, a screw gives way, and he falls, breaking his leg. Becky and Neville bandage it with a shirt and belt. On the upper floors, flames engulf the apartments. Soon, the building's developer and his assistant arrive, but they too are shot dead when they step outside. This time, the sniper is close. Becky makes Neville carry Curtis into an apartment while she hides in the elevator shaft. The sniper throws a smoke grenade inside and begins searching the building. Becky sneaks out, finds the developer's car, and arms herself with a nail gun. She ambushes the sniper, firing at him, but he quickly returns fire and wounds her shoulder. Neville and Curtis seize the moment to attack, disarming him. Becky holds the gun on him as Neville unmasks the sniper, revealing Detective Devlin. Devlin declares that they all deserve to die for refusing to bring justice to the world. Enraged, Becky and Neville beat him while remembering Jenny's innocent children. Curtis tries to calm Becky, warning that killing will change her forever. But Devlin recovers, tases Neville, and overpowers Becky in a brutal fight. Curtis also tries to intervene, but with his injury, he's quickly knocked down. Just as Devlin prepares to shoot Becky, she pulls out the nail gun and fires into his head, killing him instantly. Finally, Becky, Neville, and Curtis, wounded but alive, emerge from the burning building as the sound of fire trucks approaches. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.